So the land you see on the left as you leave.
Hossam Halak is Palestinian living in Jerusalem, but he's also an American citizen eligible to vote in the presidential election. He used to be a registered Republican, but not this year.
It's not about if you're red, if you're blue. It doesn't matter. What matters is how you're going to stop this epidemic that's, it's an absolute catastrophe what's going on in the U.S.
For him, there's no difference between Republicans and Democrats when it comes to the Palestinian issue.
But now all of a sudden, we have to say, well, Republicans have always been, pro-Israel and Democrats are pro-Palestinian. That's not correct. That is not correct. As a country, we have been overall pro-Israel.
But there are key differences between the Republican and Democrat platforms on the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. President Trump's actions have spoken louder than promises. He moved the U.S. Embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem, declaring it the eternal capital of the Jewish state. He shuttered the PLO mission in Washington, D.C., and he cut funding to the UN's Organization for Palestinian Refugees, known as UNRWA. Challenger Joe Biden, on the other hand, has said he would restore U.S. aid to the Palestinians if elected, would leave the U.S. Embassy to Israel in Jerusalem, but reopen the U.S. consulate in East Jerusalem for Palestinians, and reopen the PLO mission in Washington. Halak's factory was directly impacted by the Trump administration's cuts to U.S. aid.
We have so much invested into it, we can't just walk away from it like we did. And that's exactly what this President administration did. They just walked away. I'm not talking about handouts. I'm talking about making plans, providing work, projects where people's lives are actually better because of the assistance of the U.S. government.
Democrats abroad estimates that there are at least 10,000 Palestinian Americans across the Palestinian territories. But this number may be higher as Jerusalem residents are afraid their residency status will be revoked if they make their U.S. citizenship public. Keifa Abukdir cast an absentee ballot in Georgia, her last place of residence in the U.S., before moving back to her family's property here in East Jerusalem. She voted for Biden, though doesn't agree with his entire platform.
I don't even know what two states means anymore. Everybody keeps saying it's two states. I don't know what it means. To me, it means segregation. It means putting us into ghettos and restricting us, demilitarizing us, and giving all privilege to anybody who identifies as Jewish.
She hopes for change.
I want him to give us some form of equality and representation. It's not just about recognizing or saying the word Palestine, which we want. We want to be equals.
Most Jerusalem Palestinians can't vote in Israeli national elections, and the Palestinian Authority hasn't held elections in over a decade, so they relish the opportunity to cast a ballot.
So that's why I think it's so important for us to vote. If we can't represent ourselves here, we got to find a way somewhere else.
Dr. Adnan Abdel-Razak cast his absentee ballot in New Jersey. He too fears the prospect of 4 more years of Trump.
To move Trump is not from the point of view of Palestinian, but the point of view of human being even, and Americans. He has to go.
But he's especially concerned about the impact a Trump victory will have on the Palestinians.
So if not next year, the year after next year, he will go after the Palestinians. He does not believe that Palestinians have the right to have a state.
When we spoke to Palestinians here on the streets in East Jerusalem, basically they told us that they don't really see a clear difference between these two candidates. They say it's much of the same no matter who gets elected. So to them, either one, it would pretty much be the same for their future. I'm Emily Rose, reporting from East Jerusalem, I-24 News.